Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Coffee Time with Byron. I am your host, Byron. Alongside me is former major leaguer, current ball player overseas, Bradin Hagens. Did I say that correctly? I hope I'm not butchering your name correct.
No, you got it. Yep, you got it.
So, how are you tonight? Thank you again for doing this. I appreciate it. And congratulations on going on vacation. Sounds like fun. I wish
Yeah,
we were going on
good time. Get
vacation.
a little vacation before season gets kicked in and we get into spring training and everything.
Yeah, there you go. You can't ask for better, right? Spring
Right,
trainings are just around the corner. You got
right
that
around the
right.
corner.
Do you have any hopes of getting onto a team? Has any team came out to you? Just got to get into that real quick before we go into anything. Any
So
team?
my 2025 season will be spent overseas again with the TSG Hawks again over in the CPBL in Taiwan. So going back over there for my second year with them, and it'll be my fifth year going over to Taiwan to play.
Well, there you go. I mean, you got to play wherever you want, right? I mean,
Right,
wherever
just
they
go
take you, you
and
got
go
to
and
earn that
explore.
money. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So let's get started with your career. Like I said, there'll be a numerous amount, like we said before air. So be prepared. You were drafted out of the Diamondbacks, sixth round, 186 overall, in the '09 draft. Tell us about that draft. Uh, who scouted you, or did you know you were going to get drafted that high? Take us through that whole draft process.
So that was my draft process was a lot of fun actually. The previous year in 2008, Rick Schrader was a scout with the Kansas City Royals.
Mm-hmm.
Hadn't really been scouted too much that I knew about as far as communication with scouts. And he came up to a game that I closed out in college right before playoffs and talked to me a little bit and said he liked the way I threw. He hadn't really seen me too much, and they were going to follow me and maybe draft me way down the line. So I ended up getting drafted really late in like the 37th round. Ended up nothing come out of it. But then after that, it kind of flipped, and there was a bunch of teams that followed my career my sophomore year at JUCO in Merced. Um, Actually, I didn't have any knowledge of the Diamondbacks following me. Their scout, D. Brown, a great
Mm-hmm.
guy, still talk to him. And he actually used his facility to work out for the Brewers. And so I guess he was kind of watching me when I was throwing for the Brewers. And then that draft day, I got a message from, I believe, the White Sox and the Brewers, who were coming up on the clock in the sixth round. So they were going to take me. And I said, yeah, man, let's do it. And right before they all selected, the Diamondbacks picked me. So I had no clue I was going to Diamondbacks and that they were even really watching me that much. So it was pretty cool.
Did you? So you had no idea at all, even though I mean, I'm sure you out of college. I'm sure you know there were scouts there, so nobody gave you a call at all.
Not for the Diamondbacks, no. I had met him just through like that workout for the Brewers, and then just normal, like every scout that is watching you will have you fill out your player form for the team, kind of your character evaluation type deal. So I had done that for pretty much every team, so no team was like a standout there.
Mm-hmm.
Through the scouting process going into the draft, my teams that I felt had the most interest were the New York Mets, the White Sox, and the Brewers. And I think the Cleveland Guardians had a decent interest, but they towards the end of it, they kind of stopped talking to me in the rounds that I thought I would go. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, it wasn't Diamondbacks weren't on that list.
That's insane because most of the ex-ball players and some current. You're not the only one I've had. I've had some current. It's hard to get current nowadays. It's because you got to loop through loopholes for sure.
Uh-huh.
That's why I'm just lucky to have you on, and a couple others I've had on. But from what I've heard from some of you guys, it's like it's weird. You're like the only one that's told me like you never heard from anybody. Like at least somewhat the ones I've had on have like they were told where they were going to go. So it's crazy. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I was being just like I said, like the Mets, they told me, if we're gonna go for you, you'll be like right around the fourth round. And then I had a rough start in playoffs right before the draft, and it kind of hurt me a little bit. And then it was all coming around like the fifth and sixth round, but I had no idea who was actually going to take me until getting closer to that time. So
Now you were drafted out of Moorhead College. Now tell us about the college life, because that's a small school. Not many people come out of that to make it pro like you did. So tell us about that experience at Moorhead College and what you learned out of that experience playing ball for them.
I mean, so Merced College was an amazing experience for me. I almost didn't go there. I had talked to them about going there with some friends just because I was going to play football. I wanted to play football. I got hurt my senior year, kind of flip script. A bunch of my buddies were like, let's go down to Merced and sign up for classes. We're going to play baseball. I said, all right, let's do it. And then I played in a couple all-star games after high school. And there's a Delta College up in Sacramento who tried to recruit me. And Coach Pedretti down at Merced was like, hey, you want to go there? Go there. Like, they're going to try to reel you with all these fancy things or whatever. Or you can come to Merced and you can get better. Your choice. And when he said that, I was like, all right, challenge accepted. Let's go. So I went down to Merced. Coach Pedretti ran a great program down there. The pitching coach, Nate Devine, a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, man. He just worked his butt off in developing pitchers and learning everything he could to try to get guys better and stronger. We had a few pitchers actually come out of there in previous years and even farther back. I mean, I don't know if you remember the name Brian Fuentes. He was a closer for the Rockies and the Angels and stuff.
I remember him.
He came out of Merced College. Doug Pfister came out of Merced College. And then Dusty Ryan was a catcher who made it up with Detroit and bounced around a little bit. A couple other guys too, Curtis Parch with the Reds. And then kind of the program kept getting bigger and bigger, and there's been some other guys who've come out of there as well. But man, they make you work down there and they make you work for it, and eventually you just get better because of it. If you want to work and you want to get better, then that's where you need to go.
Did you I know that's like, since it is a small school, and I don't know what division that is. Is there like any kind of like playoffs when you were there for?
So it's a JUCO in California, and the way that works is California is its own JUCO. Like, it doesn't involve itself with the rest of the country.
So is it like a Division II then mainly?
No, it's just its own division, just JUCO.
Oh, okay.
In California, but because there's so many JUCOs in California, it's its own thing. So they don't really compete against JUCOs out of the state, at least for like the championships for the playoffs and all that stuff. There's a playoff system that you have your leagues throughout the span of California, and then you have your playoffs divided up, and then eventually just gets to the final brackets and stuff like that. So
not bad. So then after you drafted out of there by the Diamondbacks in 2009, you make your debut at the rookie level, Missouri Osprey. Tell us about that year. What'd you take out of that year and that experience out in rookie level ball?
It was just a different experience, man. In college, you have classes, you have going home, you have family stuff, and once you get on the road in minor league ball, it's a completely different game. It's baseball every single day. You're on your own. You're trying to learn how to grow up and be a man and make smart choices, and just enjoy the game too. And sometimes you get into pro ball, you start looking at it as more serious than just the game itself. And I think sometimes when a lot of guys will kind of lose their passion for the game when they forget how fun it is and how lucky we are to even play this game for a living. And so it was tough for me because I went into that and kind of got bounced around. I was a starter in college. I moved to the bullpen there. Wasn't too happy about that, but it was okay. And then but the city was fun. The fans were amazing there. Really, really good baseball. I know they still have a team. They're in it's the Pioneer League, and I think they still have the Pioneer League, but it's independent ball now after the shifts. So.
Because you did good there. You logged a 3.42 ERA, around 15 contests, and you said, you want. Why'd they give you the word? I know you said you wanted to be a starter, so why'd they move you to bullpen? Did they think that was better for you, or what was the deal there?
I think for a lot of college guys, unless you're like a really high draft pick and you, or if you don't have a lot of innings, they're going to use you in the bullpen your first year, just so your inning count doesn't jump too high. And so that was probably part of it. I think they also saw me as an opportunity to be a bullpen guy as well, be a long guy maybe, because I was a bullpen guy in 2010 as well in South Bend. And then in 2011 got switched back. And then my whole career's kind of been back and forth. So
then before we get back to where you were at in your other levels, I got to ask you then, because like you just said, you managed to switch off between reliever and starter.
mm-hmm.
Tell us a whole about that process. Is it a whole different mind frame? Just a whole different kind of training regimen? Take us through that. How difficult is it to transition? Is it no transition? How is that?
So it used to be a bigger transition for me. It used to be a different mindset. And I think that's kind of where, when I did struggle in those transitions, it was because of that. And the later in my career, as you get older and wiser and understand your body and how you want to do things, my mentality for starting and closing and relieving was all the same. And that's when it became more consistent. Before it was, as a starter, it's like I get more innings, try to throw, get strikeouts and stuff like that, and deepen games, and maybe don't blow it out in the first inning, all that kind of stuff. Save some bullets, as they used to say. And then as a reliever, it was like come in, throw as hard as you can, get the swing and misses too. But the problem with that as a starter was when you start to save, you start to lose some of your life, some of your, even your command, your stuff isn't effective, and that can hurt you. So when I changed the mindset to no matter what I'm doing, starting or relieving, I'm going out there, I'm going after these guys, I'm trying to get after it. Maybe I'm not max effort every single time, but I'm pretty effort high, and not really changing my mindset when I go back and forth anymore.
So do you change up? Is it the same repertoire that you have as a starter? Do you change it up a little bit? I mean, what do you do? Is it like the same pitching? I know you just, like you said just now, the same is the same. But what about your repertoire? Do you change that up? You said you had to throw your hardest. So do you just throw like strictly fastball? Do you mix in? What do you do with that in that regards?
So I will, as a reliever, I would be more cutter curveball on a higher percentage. And as a starter, I would just mix in more four seams, more changeups, and I'll probably try to get a little bit in and out a little bit more. As a reliever, I was just more like, hey, here it is. I'm going to give you my best stuff right off the bat. And I don't even care. I didn't even necessarily care if I threw it down the middle. If I'm letting it go, letting it move, be sharp, be a quality, like a pitch movement or whatever was good. Even if it was middle, I'll still get ground balls and pop ups and stuff with it. So as a starter, I would just be a little bit more selective in the pitches I used and the number of times I used them, especially kind of keeping track each at bat against the guy. I got him out with, the fastball away last time, or change up down and away. Now, this time I can use that against him early and then go to something else late.
So after you leave Missouri Osprey, you do in the 2010-2011 season, you spend it with South Bend Silverhawks of Single A. You have 63 combined appearances, 11-13 record, 4.91 ERA, and 134 strikeouts, nearly 200 innings. What about that whole experience? Because that's a big call up, because you got obviously drafted in 2009, and from rookie level to A, that's pretty quick. So take us through that experience, and how did you get the call to go up that quick?
So I think I had a good year in Missoula, and I think that they wanted to, obviously I earned the promotion, I feel like, to go to South Bend. My first year in South Bend was very up and down. And it was the first year fully being on my own, fully trying to, work out and find myself as a only reliever, because I was a reliever all year that year. I think too is my mindset then, as far as my role, I didn't know what it was. There was times where I'd be, the 8th inning guy. There was times I'd be the 6th inning guy. I'd go multiple innings. I'd jump around. And so I feel like I felt like I spent too much time trying to figure out what my role was instead of just not worrying about it and just pitching. And so I'd
Mm.
have one game where I wouldn't pitch well, and I'd be like, all right, whatever, go out next game, have a really good one, and then the next one have another good one, and then my role would change, and then I would let that affect my mind of like, okay, I'm getting a better role, and then I'd pitch well, and then they change my role back to something else, and I was like, well, this isn't a good role, coming in the fifth inning and throwing 2 innings, like I want to be the eighth inning guy, I want to be a back end guy. So the fifth inning guy, when I went out there, it was like, this isn't what I want to do, and I wasn't probably fully focused on it. And that's just something I think that if a guys can get mentally locked in at a younger age, that's what helps them move up faster and be more consistent with their outings every time too.
So when you were a reliever, then like you said, did you? I know you just said you wanted to be eighth inning guy. Did you
Mm-hmm.
ever have that mindset? Maybe you wanted to close a game at all, like become a closer then?
I definitely wanted to, but at the time there was they had another guy who was definitely their closer. So I had
Mm.
a couple. I think I had a couple opportunities. Can't remember how many I had that year. Maybe on like maybe 4 to 6 opportunities, or I had like 4 saves maybe or something. I don't know. So I had the opportunity to be the closer, but it was never going to be a consistent role because of the other guy that was there that
Gotcha.
was their like closer guy. So
And then, so again, you continue your high roll. You spent the 2012 season with their high A Visalia Rawhide, which I know they still have today.
yeah.
Uh, you appeared in 2 games also for Double A Mobile A Bay Bears, which I think they still have as
Mm-hmm.
well. You
Oh, they don't have
posted
a
at
team. They don't have a.
Visalia.
They don't have a. They're out. They don't have a team anymore. Yeah,
Oh, they
they.
don't have.
I
Okay,
think they
I don't know.
lost it.
See. I'm still learning my minors. I'm a
Mhm.
major guy, so I'm still learning my minors. Thank you for
Yeah,
that, by the way.
no problem.
So at Visalia, you posted a 3.88 ERA with 82 strikeouts in 95 innings. Tell us about that experience in Double A and how quickly also you ascended again. I mean, this is a quick ascent high up. I mean, not too
Mhm.
many ball players have that. So take us through that time in Visalia and then being transferred over to Mobile with the Bay Bears.
So Visalia was interesting for me because I'm from. That's not. I mean, that's 3 hours from where I grew up and was born and raised. Playing
Mm,
Modesto, which is 20 minutes away. Stockton, 45 minutes away. San Jose, an hour and a half. So I'm playing all around my home. It's really, really cool.
mm,
I started there as a reliever and kind of did the same thing I did in 2010 in South Bend, where I was kind of up and down. But also the first year I developed a cutter, and the cutter, the way I was throwing it was I would say, too aggressive into the slider approach. So like I would throw a cutter, but I almost throw it like a slider, and I was throwing it at 90 miles an hour, but it was moving like a slider, and my forearm was kind of barking that year. So I was trying to
mm,
throw through that without being put on the shelf because I'm a competitor. I don't nowadays I'm smarter, but back then, young guy just trying to compete.
right.
Like if it was sore, I don't care. So I put myself in a bad situation where I was not able to throw the cutter anymore, and I couldn't throw a changeup, so I was kind of stuck with a curveball fastball. My curveball had no command at the time,
Mm,
so I didn't have a great bullpen that year. Then they gave me a chance. Once I started getting healthy, they actually needed me to switch over to a starter, and so I finished that year as a starter. And once I got healthy, I was pretty lights out. I think I finished before I got called up. I think my last 5 or 6 starts, I went at least 6 innings, had at least like 6 or 7 Ks. My last one, I went 8 innings against San Jose, and was throwing the ball really well. Had my cutter back, my changeup was working, my curveball or slider at the time was pretty good. So it was just one of those things that timing and health was really good for that year towards the end. And that's when I got the call up to Double A after that.
Now, before we get back to your call up, because I'm quite curious about that, because that's what we're going to get to next before this. Obviously, there's the minors here in America, and you're obviously now overseas,
Mm-hmm.
trying to get back maybe into the majors if the time is right and you get scouted correctly again. Um, how much difficult is it as a ball player having to deal with all that? Because like you said at the beginning when we did this, it is a tough grind. I mean, it's 4 levels here. Well, no, 3, and then if you get to call up, you're good enough for the call up. And then overseas, you're basically trying out to make the teams. Am I somewhat correct on that? Before you get scouted and signed, it's basically like a tryout, correct?
So when you go foreign, whether it's Japan, Korea, or Taiwan, they have a minor leagues. In Korea, I don't think they have a minor league spot. I think you're just in the big leagues over there. Japan and Taiwan are different. They'll have they'll have anywhere from 5 to 6 guys. Only a certain number of guys can be in the major leagues, so the other guys are playing in the minors and basically just waiting for their turn, trying to basically compete and stay fresh and stay competitive. And so, yeah, so like going over to Taiwan, you'll have 1 or 2 guys sitting in the minors. That's kind of a same thing. You're just waiting for that call up kind of deal, but it's just the one level. You're either up or you're down.
So how tough is that grind for you? Like personally, like was it tough for you to transition to being where, like, obviously it's different levels in different countries, and like you said, you just is scout. So for you personally, how'd you handle it?
I think I've handled it pretty well. I really enjoy the experiencing new cultures, experiencing new environments, kind of embracing it, and just living in any kind of chaos there might be. But for the most part, I mean, I love the guys over there. I've had really good teammates, both when I was with the Rakuten Monkeys for 3 years. I love all those guys over there. And then switching to TSG, I got a bunch of good guys over there. Some of the guys who I actually played with when I was with Rakuten. So the guys on the team make it a lot easier. They make it fun. You do have the language barrier sometimes. It can be the hardest issue, but they have translators for us to help with things. And then some of the guys on the team can speak English, and so they can help translate for you. But it's baseball too, so you're able to kind of communicate baseball things without needing a whole lot of words. And as long as you can embrace that, accept it, and still immerse yourself into the team and try to be a part of them, I think you're gonna have fun, and I always have. So,
how is the crowds compared to over there? Are they electric compared to over here?
So I don't know if you saw the opening series in Korea last year. That
Yeah,
the Dodgers and Padres play. So like,
that's my team, the Padres. So I know.
Okay,
Yeah.
So Joe Musgrove, my guy, my agency, yeah, felt bad for him. We had his injury, man. It sucks.
Yeah. It sucks
He'll come back stronger for sure. So
yeah, he was having a good year.
Yeah, definitely. And so, but that environment where they're chanting and they're singing and they're doing that the whole game, that's Japan. When I was there, same thing. It's awesome. Taiwan's the same way. Taiwan crowds are a little bit smaller. Just the island's not as big either. You don't have quite as much pull, but you still get good crowds on the weekends, and you have theme nights and all that kind of stuff. So there'll be nights, you're getting 12 to 15,000. And I think even the championship series in 2022, we were playing the Brothers, and that's like the Yankees over there, basically. I think we had like 15 to 20,000 in the championship game. I'm not sure what their stadium holds, but I know it was sold out. So, so you still get the big crowds, just not every night. When I was in Japan with Hiroshima, they were every single home game. I think we sold out, and that's like 30,000 or so.
That's crazy. Yeah, because I've had some that I've talked to that said over there, yeah, it's crazy compared to over here, because over here we as Americans are spoiled because the game is transitioned to boring phase, and then we're now casual, which is sad because it's not America's pastime no more over here. But the fans, I think, are just like getting tired of it. But yet over there in Japan, I've had some that have played over there like you have, and they like just can't get over the fact that it's everyday constant cheering and nonstop. Like you said, it's crazy compared to over here. I just wish that we would go back to doing that, because that's how it was back in the day for us. I mean, I wish we had that kind of joy and excitement like over there. And they're still newly come to this sport.
Yeah. They've been around as much as U.S., but they man, the support over there is crazy. It's amazing to see it and be a part of it. And that's definitely something I've always kind of wished I could go back to Japan and experience that one more time. But I'll never forget that experience. That's for sure.
I believe it. So you begin the 2014 season with Mobile. So through that year, on August 14th, you finally get the call to make the 40-man roster,
Mm-hmm.
and you get promoted to the big leagues for your first time ever. Take us through that experience. Did you have butterflies when you got the call, and who told you were going to get the call up? Was it the manager, general manager,
Mm-hmm.
owner? How take us through that process?
So 14. So in 13, I was in Mobile. 14, I went back to Mobile, and I was pretty upset about that because in 13, I was an all-star. I'd made 24 starts, 150 innings, like a 3 ERA, and I
Mm-hmm.
had and and I had a couple rough starts that ballooned that a little bit because I think before the All-Star break, I had a sub 2 or even like a low 2. Um, and so to go back to Mobile in 14, I was pretty upset about that. And so it took me a little bit to kind of let that go and just accept the game and just play and just kind of get back into enjoying it and not have any, hard feelings for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think once I kind of accepted that and just said, you know what, God's got a plan for me. I'm just going to be here. I'm going to play. I'm going to enjoy it as much as possible. And then I got the call to go to Reno, and I made 2 or 3 starts there maybe. And then they needed some bullpen help in the big leagues. And so they gave me the call, and it was Phil Nevin was our manager that year in Reno. And he's the one that called me. I was on my way back to the hotel in Round Rock. We had just got there that day, and he's like, "Hey, you're heading out in the morning, so pack your bags and get ready to go."
Oh man, you gotta have that excitement, right? Whenever you get that call up, I'm sure you had
Oh, it's
goosebumps,
it's
didn't you?
unreal. Oh yeah, it's unreal. I couldn't stop grinning. That's for sure.
So then you unfortunately make, and it's your only time, unfortunately, make 2 appearances with the Diamondbacks, unfortunately. Then you were removed from the 40-man. I know that had to hurt you a bit, but you took it as a learning experience. I know you did. Because anytime you get called up, I know you take that as experience.
Mhm.
What went on through your mind when you were told that unfortunately you had to go down?
So I wasn't really surprised. I knew it might have been a temporary thing because I needed bullpen help. But I thought it would be a little bit longer of a situation. I thought that um, I pitched okay. I don't think I pitched as well as I could have. Um, I had some bad luck behind me in my second game where I gave up some other runs from somebody else that really shouldn't have been given up. And but overall, I thought I threw pretty well. My velo was a little bit down. Maybe I was coming out of the bullpen being a little bit different than being a starter. Wasn't ready for it. Not really sure. It's a long time ago now, man. So, but it was an amazing experience just taking that in and being down there playing the Marlins and just getting out there on the field and being on that in that stadium was an amazing experience. And then going down, it definitely sucked. I didn't want to. Nobody does.
Right.
But I told myself, I'll be back. I didn't think it was going to be the end. I didn't think it was going to be my last time. And I actually didn't know that I had been DFA'd. That was kind of news to me. I thought I had just been optioned. And then when I found out I was DFA'd, I took it a little bit more like on the chin, like, hey, well, why? Like, DFA, what are you talking about? Didn't make sense to me why I would have been DFA'd on that one, but I turned around, just went down to Reno, took my game to the next level down there, pitched well for the rest of the year. I think I threw my first complete game, like the first start down after being sent down. I went CG, pitched well in playoffs, and I really expected a September call up that year. Didn't get it, and then kind of the rest of the path was kind of like I feel like definitely interesting and weird, but it led me where I'm at, and I'm grateful for it still. So
And I don't know if you can see the comments, but I got one from my loyal fan. Thank you, Baseball RS. I'm sorry I forgot your name. It's been a while since you posted, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If you want to post that again, I'll remember your name for next time. I'm sorry. He wants to know in your debut, if you remember this. I know it's been so long, but we'll see if you remember this. He says you had the Marlins. I know you remember that.
Yeah.
Marcel Ozuna in full
Yeah.
count.
Mm-hmm.
Montero came out to the mound and he made you laugh.
Yeah.
What did he say to you? He wants to know, what did he say to you?
So
Yeah.
I do remember very, very clearly because it was that was it? It wasn't the full count because it was it against Ozuna. I remember him coming out to me, and the thing that made me laugh, if this was what he's talking about, is I threw a 3-1 fastball, and at that time, my cutter and my fastball had blended a touch, so my fastball had a little bit of cut to it, and sometimes when I threw it, it had a little bit of extra cut. And the major league balls, I think, gave it even a little bit more, and so came out and he said, "I called a fastball." I said, "No, I threw a fastball." And so he was laughing because he's like, it didn't look like that. It was basically a cutter, but because of my my pitch grips and everything that I was throwing, and I think the major league balls had a little bit more effect on it. It looked more like a cutter than a fastball. So I believe that's what he's talking about. I don't remember if
Yeah,
it
he is.
was.
That's why he went, because he's my historian on here, and I thank him
Okay.
every time. He's my loyal fan, and
Yeah.
he looks this stuff up, and I do thank him for this. He's my historian. So yeah, he was just curious what he had said to you, and I'm surprised
Mhm.
that you remember, because like you said, that was too long. That was a long time
Yeah.
ago. So
Yeah. I mean,
that's crazy that you remember.
I do remember. I do remember the outings. I remember the situations. I thought it was. I mean, to have your first debut outing be, bottom of the ninth tie ball game and facing, 1, 2, 3 against them at that time, it was Yelich. I
Yeah,
believe
it was a who's who. Yes.
It was Yelich, Solano,
Yeah.
Stanton, and
Yeah.
McGee. Um,
Basically an MVP lineup.
Right, and it's like, man, like getting thrown into the fire, and I loved it, and it was fun, definitely fun debut, and even though I got the loss, like man, I wouldn't take it back. It was fun.
I bet. So then after that, like you said, after that little cup of tea, when you said that, when you went down, then you spent the time in Reno, like you said, you get cut by them, you get picked up by my Rays, another one of my teams here locally. Um, you spend in the minors there with Montgomery and Durham. Tell us
Mm-hmm.
about that whole experience and that being a part of that organization, because it's a who's who that comes out of that roster. Low market has his, even though it's not supposed to be, but whatever. The owner, don't get me started with them. They don't spend whatever they can. It is what it is, but they know how to use their talent,
Mm-hmm.
and kudos to them for that. Take us through that experience with the Tampa Bay organization, and what was it like being a part of that organization?
I loved it. I loved it. My time there, it was really fun. They were way more analytical than the Diamondbacks were, um, and I think that it did help me a little bit. I started learning more about it because before that, analytics were not a thing. Um, and so, yeah, I came into camp in 15 with the Diamondbacks, and I was working for my spot, to be in AAA again and get back into on the 40 man, all that stuff. And they brought me in. They're like, hey, we're not going to send you out. We're going to keep you here, and we're trying to trade you because we want you to get out there and compete. And so I was kind of taken back by that after making my debut the year before, but kind of accepted it. At that point in my career. I'm like, hey, whatever God's plan is, wherever He's going to send me, it is what it is. So I took it. I went back to AA, the one place I thought I'd never go back to, and but they embraced me. They said, hey, we want you to start, but we have all these starters, so you're going to be in the bullpen first, and then we'll kind of just work you in, or wherever you're going to be, you'll kind of fit in by whatever part of the year happens. So I got there. I think my first game, I was piggybacking Jamie Schultz, one of the young prospects at the time. I threw like 2 or 3 innings behind him, and then game 5 of that same series, the game 5 starter went like 2 innings, and I don't know if he got hurt or if he was not throwing well, but they're like, "Hey, can you go out there and throw?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're good." Went out there and threw 5, so I threw I think 8 innings in the first 5 games of the year there, and they're like, "Oh, you can go to the bullpen from the bullpen to starting." So same thing there though. As my career, I went back and forth for them. I started, I relieved, I went to Durham, I started, had a spot start, went back down, then was a reliever in Double-A again after spot starting in Triple-A, and then got the call up to Triple-A as a bullpen guy for them, and then they threw me back in the rotation again, and I finished out the year in Durham as a starter. I think I had like 11 or 12 starts there, I think, something like that.
How close were you to ever, do you think, that you were told to maybe ever get in a call up with them? Because I know they were, with them as an organization, they're always pitching mainly. I know they've had a lot of position players come through there, but they're mainly known for their pitching. How close do you think you were ever getting the call up, or were you ever told you were close at all?
No, I did surprise me a little bit because I remember in I think they had like a 2.26, 2.7, 2.67, something like that. I had really good stats in AAA, but I don't know if they necessarily liked my pitch profile because at that time it was all, Blake Snell was there, right? And he was
Yes.
he's
He
the
was.
blueprint for what they wanted.
And David Price.
Snell was in the minors and Price was in the majors, right?
Right. Yes.
Right there.
Yes.
So, but that was the blueprint of what was wanted. It was the riding fastball with the 12-6 curveball coming off of it, and you play the planes with it. Well, at that time, I was, cutter, sinker, curveball, changeup, but my profile was less drastic. I have a smaller plot graph, I guess you would say, but all my stuff's pretty sharp, pretty late. And at the time, my velo had ticked up that year in Durham at first. When I got there, I was like, I think 92, 95, and I was throwing my cutter like 90, 93. And so I definitely thought I had a chance at that point. But then as the year went on, it's like they just kind of were using me as an extra guy to get the starts and stuff like that. Kyle Snyder, the pitching coach there, he was a great guy. He was kind of had my back and, told me he really enjoyed how I threw. He helped me out a lot there. And told me he would love to have me back, but he didn't know what the organization was going to do. And yeah, they just kind of said, "Hey, we're just going to let you go, be a free agent." So,
and now look at him. Like he was in the minors with you. Now look at him. He's at the major league now with us.
He's been up there for a while now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Time flies.
Yep, for sure. As I said, been 10 years since my debut, going on 11 this year now.
Yeah, crazy. So Eugene wants to know, do you remember your first 2 strikeouts in the majors, your time, and did you get to keep
I have the ball. I have the ball for Hechavarria. I do remember got him on a curveball down. And then I remember Yelich. I got him 3-2. It was one of those backdoor fastballs that had some cut to it. I actually have the video on my phone of that. And I had the video on my phone of McGee, which was my debut in the 9th inning when I got the double play ball to get out of the jam. So I do remember those. I also remember I'm pretty upset that I should have struck out Stanton. I had him like 0-2 or 1-2 and threw him a curveball that he just got a piece of barely. And then after that, I was like, I got to make it better, and bounced it and then threw another ball and ended up walking them. So, yeah, I remember it's crazy how the brain will save those memories when they mean so much and they're such a cool experience.
So since you did get to keep that ball, did you have Hechavarria sign it for you?
I didn't. No, it went. Got the sticker on it. Went straight in the sock they give it to you in. Right on it, let you know what it is. I have my first pitch ball, and I have my first strikeout. So.
And he also wants to know. This is a joke because obviously, unfortunately, you didn't get to face him that much. Mm-hmm. He wants to know it must feel good to have total ownage on Yelich that night.
So the crazy thing is with Yelich is I have faced him so much because we came up in the minors to get against each other in Double A. So
Mm-hmm.
I faced him a lot in Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the I like facing him, and the problem that in my debut that started the whole thing was he had an infield single over my head. He didn't square me up very well. He didn't hit me very hard, but he would get hits on, you know, he was fast. He would get out of the box well. So if he hit like a chopper over my head, I think Didi was playing shortstop that night, and chopper over my head up the middle, and he beat it out for the single to start off the ninth inning. And that was upsetting to me because when balls hit that soft, you want a play to be made, and just fast guy getting beat it out.
Yeah, like I said, he's my statistician. I appreciate that, and I didn't had no idea you owned him in the minors. I just thought he meant the majors. That
I
so
don't know. I don't know if he's talking about the minors or majors or not, but I know in the majors, I know I struck him out, and I had um, I'm pretty sure I had pretty good outings against him in the minors. I don't know the exact numbers, but I always stuck in my head because in 2013 in Mobile, for whatever reason, National League teams I dominated. American League teams, so Birmingham and Montgomery,
mm,
they for some reason could get to me, and I don't know exactly what it was. Maybe it was the approach, but I think I went back at one point and saw that I had like a 2 ERA against National League teams that year, and had
mm.
like a 6 against American League teams. And
That's
so
crazy.
it's crazy. Yeah, I don't know what it was, but yeah, Jacksonville and Mississippi, the Braves, Pensacola, all those teams always pitch well against them.
Oh, okay. Now he went the when you brought up Casey McGee,
I
my guy Eugene said that coincidence he saw his dad at his golf range, and I guess Casey McGee is a Santa Cruz guy where Eugene's from. He's like
okay.
coincidence. So now that you mentioned Casey McGee, he
Somebody
brought
just
that
ran
up.
into his dad. Yeah,
Crazy, yeah, that's
small
crazy, isn't
world.
it? Small world,
Oh, yeah,
yeah. And Stanton, like you said, yeah, he's a tough out. I mean,
yeah.
I just feel bad for him with the Yankees. I know he took the money and Steinbrenner paid him much, and he gets booed to high hell. But injuries, man, just the better of him. I mean, when he
Mhm.
was young and could stay healthy, that boy was beast. Just
Oh,
sucks
yeah,
career.
yeah.
I mean, that's crazy that you at least had to face him. I know. I mean, that's crazy. So then after you leave Montgomery, that's in the Rays organization, you get cut. You start your journey, obviously, through overseas.
Mhm.
Um, compare the stats that you've had in the minors to overseas. Uh, is there one team stats that level that you think you've had a better year compared to your lowest? Uh, Basically, what I'm trying to ask is, what were yours? What was out of all the seasons that you've had? What was your best season, either in the minors or overseas
Mhm.
to now? What's been your best season and what's been your worst season? Basically, my question. Sorry for mixing it up there.
No, you're good. You're good. My worst season would probably be 18 in Reno, and just coming back from Japan. Diamondbacks re-signed me, kind of as an extra guy. I had a really weird injury in Japan that it's funny they wouldn't let me talk about it, and so I feel like it's just something that wasn't known, and now it's like if somebody asks me, I can finally like tell them, and people are like, "You really were hurt?" Yeah, I had a fractured rib,
Ooh,
microfracture in my rib in Japan my second year.
ooh.
And I pitched with it for like a month and a half, and it hurt so bad, and I didn't pitch well. And then when I recovered from it, I got back healthy, felt good. They threw me to the fire, and my fault for not speaking up for myself, I guess. But they just kind of threw me out there, threw me out there, threw me out there after I had got back from it. Put myself in a bad situation of being tired and not executing. And that kind of ended my time there, but it kind of skewed my second year because I pitched half that time hurt before I figured out what it was. So coming back from that to the States, I felt like I had to really reprove myself, and I overdid it, overtried, bounced back and forth, started out pretty well, but then I just didn't keep control on how much I was throwing and how many bullpens I was throwing and all that stuff because I was bouncing back and forth and starting and relieving. And I ended up having a flexor strain that year and not having great stats that year. And so overall, I'd say probably 2018 was my worst year. My best year is tough because statistically, my best year ever would probably be Taiwan 2022. I had 36 saves, led the league in saves. I had a 1.44 ERA and like a 1.13 WHIP or something like that, with like 70 innings, and just had a really good year. And I would have finished the year with a sub 1 ERA, except for my last outing I gave up 4. So I was trying to go for the tie the league record in saves, and I didn't work out. So, but it's still a really good year. But Japan, my first year in 16, I think overall was my favorite year because we won the championship for the first time in 25 years. And I feel like I was a huge part of that. And I was the 7th inning guy for them, kind of the bridge guy for a little bit, and threw a lot of innings, threw really well, and got to win a championship there. So that was a lot of fun.
There you go. Kudos. Yeah. Because I know it's hard to win championships in any league, no matter where it's at. So kudos.
Yeah, especially there. I feel like it was so appreciated from the fans because it was the first Central League championship for them in 25 years. So it was very memorable. I got to play with Hiroki Kuroda. He had come back to Japan and played there. So that was a lot of fun.
Name.
Oh, yeah. So that was like his last or second to last year that he played before he retired. So just getting to pick his brain and talk to him throughout the year. Another guy on that team had like had got his 2000th hit. Arai, he's actually the manager for the Carp now. So yeah, it was just that year was probably my favorite for sure.
Eugene wants to know, he coached a team in August in Ceres, California, I guess where is close to where you live. I guess the temperature got over 100 over there. He wants to know, his question to you is, how did you like the summers living there?
So the summers living there were better than the summers in Arizona. Thankfully, I don't spend any summers here. But yeah, I feel like when I was young, the summers there didn't matter. And because until I got drafted, those summers were spent, by the water or in cooler places. And I think it just 110 there is not as dry and burning as the 117 in Arizona. But no, yeah, Ceres is right next to my hometown. I played against them. High school baseball, we played against them. Played against them in Pop Warner football. So yeah, it was like, I think it's 20 minutes from my hometown, which is funny because my hometown's smaller than Ceres, and Ceres is already pretty small. So
yeah, that's small world crazy. That's why I love my statistician. Thank you, Eugene. So I gotta ask you now. Obviously, coming through the minors and even over in overseas, you've been through a lot. You've seen a lot of talent come through, hitting and pitching wise. Who would you say was your best teammate, and who would you say wasn't your favorite teammate? I know you probably didn't have fits with many, but who would you
Mhm.
say would be your worst teammate that you've had?
I'm just not going to answer that one. I'm sorry. I can't tell you a worst teammate.
No
I mean,
worries.
I feel
No
like
worries.
I feel like there's always guys you might butt heads with, but for the most part, if you're butting heads with somebody, it's probably because you're working your butt off, they're working your butt off, and
Mm,
you're just getting caught up in the moment, you know. And I won't ever hold that against anybody. And
sure.
so there's definitely some clashes along the way, but I appreciate all the teammates that I had and everything that they brought to my life and the impacts they had on me, good or bad too. So um, I don't really have an answer for that one. I think that as far as a best teammate, I mean, I've had so many teammates. I don't know if I'd be able to answer that one either. I feel like there's
No
just
worries.
so many good guys up. I mean, looking at it this way, this next year will be my 17th professional season.
Right.
That's a lot of guys that I've played with, and then
Exactly. It
you're
is.
looking at guys, in Japan, you're looking at guys in Taiwan, you're looking at guys in indie ball. My winter league teams, I played in Puerto Rico and Mexico. I've been all over the place. I played with so many people that you can't narrow it down. There's so many good guys in this game that you always remember them, and so there's definitely a few guys that I'm still in contact with pretty often. One of the guys, I didn't play with him very long, but I've known him for a few years now that I still talk to. Our families get together. Edwin Carl. I played with him for a stint in Fargo before he went over to the Atlantic League. And then, there's a lot of guys out there. I mean, I still got guys in my fantasy football leagues that I talk to all the time, and so there's so many good guys. It's just hard to answer that.
So now, two-part question, which I don't mind you saying that. And two, I just wanted to ask. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm glad you turned me down. I don't care,
Mhm.
regardless. So I just wanted to know, curious. So, but that's fine. I'm glad you didn't answer it. That's fine
Mhm.
with me. I appreciate it. I appreciate your honesty, by the
Yeah,
way.
for sure.
So my next one is now the coaching. Um, it's not that one, not like that one. But my next question to you is: out of all high school, college, pros, overseas to now, uh, this is a two-part question. The what coach helped you most along the way? What coach gave you the most information that you use to this day still? And growing up, we all had pitchers and players we wanted to be like.
Hmm.
Who was your pitcher that you wanted to take your game up after?
So I didn't really want to only be a pitcher. It's funny still to this day. I'm like, I want to be an athlete. I want to swing the bat if I can and have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
If the team was letting me take BP, I take BP. I enjoy it. I love swinging the bat. I want to be an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't necessarily have like a pitcher that I brought my game up after. I mean, I grew up, Central California watching the Giants. I love watching Barry Bonds play. I love the way just like making that bat look like a toothpick and just launching balls.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really enjoyed watching Matt Cain when he pitched. I loved his demeanor. But then you got guys like when Jake Peavy was with the Giants, just that angry pitching that he had.
Oh yeah,
I love that. And
I
that's
remember it
that's
well.
yeah.
I
So
remember
like
it well with the
watching
Padres. Yeah.
watching those guys, like I think more than just like one guy of modeling my game after, it's just a mold of all these guys of their mentality and their attitude and their drive. The one thing I've always kind of been told is that I'm on the mound. I'm a little bit more relaxed nowadays, but I've always kind of had that bulldog mentality that you get me out there and things might not be going my way, but I'm still going to be competing. I'm going to be working my butt off to get things done out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's more of how I see the players that I grew up watching and how they attack the game and how they work. Um, and then as far as like the coaches that had the biggest impact on me, from I'd say from like the mental side of the game really got developed in high school and into college with my two of my coaches. With Mick Tate was my coach all 4 years of high school and varsity, and then Nate Devine, my pitching coach in college. Both those guys were huge mental guys, and I think the mental side of the game is just so important, and that's what kind of separates the guys who last and the guys who just can't do it or don't want to do it anymore because of the stresses that can come with it. Because it is, this is our living. This is how we support our families. This is how, um, you know, we get through life and can do the things we want to do. So it can get stressful, and you got to remember it's just a game. And if you can stay in that road and stay in that path, and that's what those two coaches taught me at an early age. And it's just been kind of taking that and now being quicker to get back to that, because you will always get away from it and stress yourself out. But it's just snap back, get back to this is a game, calm down, relax, have fun, and just compete.
So now I got to ask you, family wise, because I know different overseas, it's different from over here. Do you leave? How hard is it? Do you take the family with you? Do you leave them there? How's that process? How do you handle that as a player, or do they come over there with you? Because I know some do, some don't. So how'd you handle it? And are they able to come over there with you? How does that process work out?
So in 2021, my first year in Taiwan, they did not come because there was COVID restrictions in Taiwan, and you had to go through this whole process to get special entry visas and all this stuff. And by the time I got done, there was a COVID outbreak, and they shut the borders. And so my family couldn't come over to me. I spent 10 months away from my family. It was the hardest thing, I have to do is to spend that much time with my family. My daughter at the time was 2, turning 3. And that's they grow so fast at that age, so
Yeah, they do.
you feel like you miss so much. Thankfully nowadays, unlike the old times, you have FaceTime, you can still communicate and stuff like that. So that's hard. And then this last year was extremely hard. Thankfully I got to come home, but my wife was pregnant. We had our son in June.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So my little girl's 6 now. She understands a little bit more. Doesn't make it easier sometimes, but I was able to come home for my son's birth and be here for 10 days or so before heading back. But I was gone without them the whole year this year again because my wife just couldn't travel. And so they will be coming with me this year. We're leaving on the 6th of February, going out as a family, going to be together as long as possible out there until maybe it's time to come back, or maybe they stay out the whole year. We'll kind of see how it goes. So
that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. Because like you said, not many families go, and some do and some don't. And that's awesome. Honestly, that is awesome. So Eugene has another question for you. He wants to know from your Reno team if you remember a Trent Olchin. I guess he managed a 12-year-old Australian team in Santa Cruz, where this guy's from, and I guess he broke in with the Dodgers, and not too many after that. Do you remember Trent Olchin from your Reno team?
I don't. You have to tell me which year it was. So it would have been. He might have been there in 14, maybe. But I don't know. Maybe he was gone by the time I got up there in 14, because I was up towards the end of the year in 14. Or no, sorry, in 14 was closer to the end of the year, so he might not have been there. And there's a lot of older guys on that team. I'm trying to think. So I see. He said he's Australian. So the one Australian that I remember playing with, because I don't remember Trent, is Cable Hogben, and he is a guy who got signed with the Diamondbacks out of Australia.
I remember that name because he was in the WBC a couple years. He was on a WBC team.
He probably was back in I
remember him.
2010 or 12, maybe back then he was.
Yeah, somewhere around there when they had it.
Yeah, so he, Cable Hogben was with me in Missoula in 2009, in South Bend in 2011, and they ended up turning him into a submariner for a while before he ended up being done. So I don't remember Trent. I don't know if we crossed paths at all.
If you know Eugene, I know you're listening out there. Thank you again. Let us know what year that was. So, because he's looking at it too. So let us know what year he was with that team. Um, so now I gotta ask you. You just said he turned him into a submarine. They
Mhm.
turned him into a submarine pitcher. Now, it was. I know that's hard to do, but if you were told you had to do that, would you do it? And how hard of a transition would that be to do something like that? Because I know that's got to be hard.
So, so I actually, it was one of the things I used to do for fun. Um, so I still mess around with it. So when I was in high school and going into college, I would drop down submarine in like with two strikes, or maybe first pitch, I just throw it out there.
Mhm.
So I enjoyed doing it, and I had a pretty good changeup down there. It was just it died and had a lot of drop to it. Um, so I think that if one guy could do it pretty well, I think I could have done it. And I always thought about it. That's the thing now is I'm still debating if I'm going to start throwing my knuckleball. So I have fun with it. I still throw it for fun. I've thrown it on like the Rapsodos and stuff like that, and kind of see the movement of it.
Mhm.
And there's always a time to maybe bust it out. Maybe it'll be this year. Who knows? I busted it out during the All Star game in 2022, um, and got to use it there. Had some fun with it, but I ended up actually hitting my own teammate in the stomach with it too.
Oh, jeez.
So he was batting on the other team, but it just broke the wrong way. It's part of knuckleballs, can't control it all the time.
Now, even though it's hard, I gotta say that's got to be totally different for a hitter. Once you say that's got to throw off the hitters compared to the traditional overhand, that's got to be different. I couldn't imagine trying to hit one of those. I
So
couldn't.
I got to face one in college summer ball that was on my college team, and I'll say that the if they throw a regular four seam down from down there that doesn't move a whole lot, it's not that hard to hit.
Mhm.
But the guys who can get the movement on it or get the rise on it, um, and or get the sink on it. Ziegler was always a big sinker guy with his.
Yep. Yes, he
Um,
was.
those guys are hard to hit. The one that I faced was not crazy movement, so it wasn't that hard. But there's some submariners in Taiwan that are pretty good. There's even one that was on the team for the Premier 12 that just got played, that I play with Rakuten. His nickname's Tiger, and he's pretty nasty. He's got some good movement on it. He's got command of it. He throws a little slider spinner on underneath, and he almost like brings it under the zone to the bottom of it, and then it's fun to watch. Man, he'll just throw a fastball there, and then throw one just underneath it. You think it's a ball down, it just comes right up and catches you. And then he's got one like it's kind of like what Tyler Rogers does, Tyler Rogers does for the Giants. That riser that comes up and into a lefty, he can throw that a little bit too. He's pretty nasty. It's fun to watch. So
And Eugene said your two games, surprisingly, I don't know if you know this, they're on YouTube and in full. Did you know that?
I did not know that. So that's
I,
interesting.
I'm
I have
gonna
to
I,
check
I'm
that
I'm
out.
gonna have to check that out. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I
And
only
he
got
said and he said 2014 was that trend. Was that before your time?
so 14. I got called up to Reno in 14. He might have got released before I got up there because when I went up to Reno, there was like 4 or 5 guys that got released at that time. So he could have been one of them. Um, if I could saw his face, maybe I'd recognize him, but I don't remember.
No
So
problem. So now let's get into little current topics. I know I'm curious to know because I know you still follow just as much as I do. Um, as I do with all my guests, we talk about how the game has changed and not for the better. I think it's much more boring as a fan, even though I only played Little League and that's it. I haven't played it uh, professionally like you have. But I got to ask you, just like I asked all my baseball guests, do you feel like the game is changing for the better or worse than what you and I grew up on? I know we're close of age range. Um, do you feel like the
I'm
game?
25. What are you talking about?
Huh? You what?
I'm 25.
It was still close there. 7 years difference. So what? I mean, close
I'm
enough.
just kidding.
I know.
Uh,
But do you? I mean, do you feel like
so
it? Go ahead.
I think that the game's going back to a good place. I think it started getting away from that. Um, I was I think that they started going young and high ceiling versus maybe a little bit older and more consistent. And I think that changed the game to, flamethrowers who have no control. And, it is what it is. Like, they're still good athletes. They still throw the ball crazy hard, and they're still going to get outs. But I don't think that the game is the best it can be. I do think that it's getting back to that game that we grew up watching where they're not so worried. Maybe a guy is a little bit older, but he's still nasty. He still get outs, doesn't throw, 95 plus, but he's out there. He's a grinder. He's going to get you, 6 or 7 innings as a starter, or he's going to go out there, and go 1, 2, 3 for the most part as a bullpen guy. I think the analytics are showing. Analytics can't tell you everything, and I think that
Right.
they can try to predict. But I also think that one of the things that threw me off about analytics when I first started learning was that I was told a fastball up and into a hitter had no effect.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, who told you that? The computer? Because the computer's telling you that a fastball at a guy's face has no effect. It doesn't do anything.
Right.
Well, the computer's not analyzing that guy's reaction and his heart rate and his worry about getting smoked in the face with 95,
Right.
And there are some guys who don't get affected by it. They're like, all right, throw it in my head. I'm still going to dig in. I'm going to look for that fastball down away. I don't care. But the computer can't tell you emotions. The computer can't
Right.
tell you reactions. They can predict what might happen, and they can tell you the guys that after a fastball up and in, this guy doesn't budge, doesn't care. But that kind of threw me off, and I think that just because a guy's analytics don't say he's going to get as many outs as you want doesn't mean he won't. And I feel like that's being shown more and more. And I think there's more analytics coming to it. You see things that a lot of like the swing and miss things, like, well, why guys swing and miss at this? This is a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. Why are they swinging and missing it? Well, it's the movement on it, the profile of it, the what it looks like doesn't always tell the whole story. So I definitely think that it's headed back to a better game. I don't necessarily like the pitch clock as much or as often. I think that if there's guys on base, maybe you can have it, or with nobody on base, you have it. With guys on base, you add a little bit more time, like they kind of do. But I think, I don't know. I'm rolling too much, and I get in my own head about it sometimes. So
You beat me to it. I was just about ready to ask you that because me, honestly, I think it's stupid because, like you, I grew up with no pitch clock. Those players did not give a flying F. They knew what was doing. They didn't have to take this much time like these pitchers now and hitters do. So to speed up these games and all that, I think it's BS of what the players have turned it into. I mean, what we grew up on is, like I said, these players' attitudes. They knew what they were going to do and all that. The games weren't that. I wish it would go back to that. I agree with you. I do not like the pitch clock. I
I
hate
see
it.
it takes some of the chess game out of it. I understand that you don't want guys standing out the box for a minute in between pitches, but there's a chess game inside of it. Where you step out at a certain time, and when you limit that to one timeout per at bat, you take that chess game away. And I
Yeah.
do think that part of the problem is that if you want to go to a baseball game and you want to watch a game, then watch it. Back in the day, the games were thoroughly enjoyed, and people weren't living
Right.
so fast, right. Like
Right.
I feel like everybody wants instant reaction or instant enjoyment. They don't. It's not a baseball's not a boom, here you go, it's over, enjoy it. It's the process. The whole
Right.
9 innings tell you a story. there's a story within every single game of how it's played out and how it works out, and what pitchers do, what hitters do, what coaches do, the moves you have to make. I don't like the universal DH. I think that takes away part of the game. I like the one of those new things I think that they should go to would be like, okay, you get a DH for your starter. Once you pull your starter, your DH is gone too. I,
Yep, I
I
like
think
that
that's a
too.
better. I think that's a better option than
Right.
universal DH.
I agree. But pitchers don't want that because pitchers have gotten hurt. So that's why they took it away originally because
Well,
pitchers have got hurt.
be an athlete. Like
I know.
don't
I
be
agree.
someone who can't do
I
multiple
agree.
things, or you know what, your team's gonna have to sacrifice because you're really good on the mound, but you can't do anything in the box. Fine, whatever.
But then
Or
again, that would take away from the DH spot that's in the Hall of Fame because there's DHs in the Hall of Fame now. We're strictly for that. So that would take away Hall of Fame for that. So I mean, in a way, that's kind of hurting those players too.
you would still have the DHs though, and guys could still make it into the Hall of Fame because you're still gonna have DHs for 5 innings, right? So
Yeah,
if you have DH for 5 or 6 innings before you pull your starter, you're gonna be incentivized to
true.
keep your starter
I
in
didn't think of
longer.
it like that. You brought it. Yeah, that's a better
Yeah,
point. Yeah,
you're gonna have your starter's gonna you're gonna want your starter to go 6 or 7 innings, right? You're not gonna put as much stress on the bullpen, who's gonna have to throw every single day. You're
yeah.
gonna have
Eugene agrees with us. He wants him to hit again. I agree. I
well,
agree.
it's not even just pitchers hitting. It's the strategy within the game of not wanting your pitchers to hit, but also if you have a pitcher that can hit, that's awesome, you know. But having a DH for the starter, well, that protects your starter if he gets tired. But then if you want your starter to go deeper in the game, so you can keep that DH in, you know, and your
Well, like
DH
you
is going to
said,
get
if
two or
you
three
wanted
at
to
bats
hit,
a
you
game.
could have hit. You could have
Yeah,
hit.
right,
So,
right. I had a pretty good average in 2019. I had a pretty good average. I didn't have many at bats in AAA, but
see, I'm sure you hate
started
that
being
they
smarter
took
about
away.
my at bats. So
Yeah. See, I'm sure you took. I'm sure you hate that they took it away because I'm sure you love to hit.
I loved it. It's fun. I mean, you're doing something you don't get to do all the time, so it's definitely fun.
So now I got to ask you about your cup of tea that you had with the Diamondbacks. I know
Mhm.
you sort of. I'm sure you follow them sort of. They have been on the cusp for a couple of years now of making it to the championship round, but can't seem to get to that level. They also
Mhm.
were in the World Series a couple years ago. What do you think needs to happen for them to keep this momentum going to eventually winning the World Series? Because they were close to with the Rangers, but they
Yeah.
didn't win it. So, what do you think they need to get to that World Series again to win it?
I think their bullpen last year is what really struggled for sure. I think their bullpen lost them some games. I think that um, usage or whatever it may be, it just didn't execute. So they needed more consistency out of their bullpen. I thought that they did a really good job with their lineup. I think that they turned it from, when they turned and let go of Goldschmidt and let Walker come in. I thought that was a really good move for, for money wise, obviously, with Goldschmidt, what he's going to end up making. What Walker
Right,
could do, I'd seen it. I'd seen it
right.
firsthand in AAA and him going up and down to the big leagues in 18 and 19. I played against him when he was in Norfolk with the Orioles before he came over to the Diamondbacks. Um, so I thought they did some good moves with the lineup, and they've done some really good things with their prospects. I think that they need some more consistency out of their bullpen. Um, their starters, I think signing Burns um, was huge. I think that's a good anchor piece for them for the next few years for sure. So they just got to build around that now. Get some guys to help him out, and they'll be good.
And now the Rays, which were the minors, where do you see them going from here? Because I know, unfortunately, they won't be playing in their home stadium soon because of what happened with Milton,
Yeah.
obviously. So they'll be playing at the Tampa Yankees, the home of the spring training for the Yankees Stadium.
Mhm.
Where do you see them going from here? Because they want to rebuild the Trop, but I think it's pointless. I think they should just build the new stadium right away because say if you do fix it up like they want, you're going to tear it down anyhow when the new stadium is built in 26 or 27, whenever they finish it. So where do you see them from here, and can you still see them making the playoffs even though they're misplaced?
I feel like they could definitely still make the playoffs, even be misplaced. I think that's location. I mean, if you can get your guys comfortable with where they're playing, I don't think it's going to be an issue. I would say, yeah, I don't think you invest in a stadium that you're going to build something else and tear it down. So whatever funds you're going to put into rebuilding that stadium, put into starting the other stadium now for sure. Surprisingly enough, I don't follow MLB a crazy amount right now. I do see like headlines and stuff like that, but I saw they're going to be playing in the Yankees spring training. And that's kind of that's what Toronto did, playing in
Dunedin and then moving
Buffalo,
up
right? And then moving back.
before they could go to Toronto. Yeah.
So I mean, they played pretty well there. I mean, the crowd's gonna be a little bit different for sure, but I don't know. Maybe it'll be a little spark in their butt to get it moving. I don't know. Who knows?
I hope you're right. Something.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So I know you're looking forward to this year. What are you hoping to gain out of this year with your team? And are you hoping to accomplish going back to the majors, or do you think your time is up with the majors?
I think I'm on a new team in Taiwan that just started last year, and although it was a rough season overall, I think that they made some strides. Man, their young guys are going to be good. They got some guys who are going to take over the league a little bit, their positions, and be the number one guy for sure. I think this year our team is pushing for playoffs. That's the biggest goal I can think of for us to start. Because if we make playoffs, anything can happen from there. So our biggest goal is push for playoffs, get that done, and if we can do that, then then we shoot for it all. But take it a game at a time. Our consistency is the biggest thing for us. If we can be consistent, game in and game out, we will be one of the best teams in the league with the guys that we have. And I don't think that my time is necessarily up, that I can't pitch in the major leagues anymore. I would love to go back. Sometimes it's not worth the politics you might see in the States. But if I got the chance, I would take it. I would jump right back into it. I'd, fight for my shot to be in the major leagues again. I still think I can pitch there. I still think I got the stuff. I think that, as crazy as it might sound, I'll be 36 this year. At 36 versus 26 making my debut, I think my stuff is better now than it was then. I'm more consistent now than I was then. My velo is still the same, if not better now than it was then. So I definitely think that I still got the ability to pitch in the major leagues. It's just whether the timing ever works out for me to get the opportunity to do it.
Now, if you weren't playing, what would you see yourself being? Would you still see yourself in the game coaching, scouting, announcing, or would you see yourself doing totally something different?
No, I never thought of announcing. I don't know if I'd be a good announcer. I could probably get too caught up in the game and forget to say anything. So I definitely see myself staying in the game in some aspect. I've always would love to coach. I think that'd be, amazing to be able to take my knowledge and what I've learned over my career and pass it on to another generation and help them achieve their dreams as well. Scouting, I'd scout. And I think another thing I would do is, I think being an agent would be really fun. That's something I could look into with my experience and the road I've been down, helping guys learn an aspect, not only being in the game for so long and playing all over the place and having the contacts and people that I know. I think being an agent would be fun for watching other people grow in this game and sharing that knowledge as well.
Now, obviously, the role of a pitcher changes throughout their time. Like you said, when you're young, you're throwing hard, and when you're older, you have to change up your stuff, throw slower, and all that, and locate. Do you find that true about what the pitcher is, how they develop that, and do you think that's better? Do you think they grow better with age instead of throwing that fast when you're coming up, when you're young? Do you think the pitcher grows better as they age?
I think the aging aspect is maturity and knowing you, your body, and what you're trying to do. And I think the guys that succeed at a younger age in the major leagues, they grew into that faster and they understood that earlier. Um, and the guys who get to the major leagues and then fall out, they lose that. But I think the guys who come in and know, hey, this is the type of pitcher I am. This is what I'm gonna do. This is how hard I need to work, and this is the mentality I need to keep. Those guys will be there and be able to get the most out of their talent at a young age and do it for a longer period of time. For me, I feel like my mental maturity was up and down when I was younger, and the more I accepted the game for what it was and just kind of the journey that it was, and had fun with it, and knew that, I mean, man, this is a kid's game, right? We grow up playing this thing, having fun. And like I said earlier, if you can have fun and focus on that aspect of it, it'll make everything else kind of fall into place better. And you won't get so stressed out. You won't get too caught up in it. You just have fun, compete, enjoy the game, work your butt off.
Now, uh, do you think throwing older at an older age is better than throwing younger, and it saves health wise to extend your time pitching? Or do you think pitchers younger, when they throw harder, can still throw hard when they age and succeed? Do you think you can still succeed throwing hard at our age, basically what I'm trying to say, and as long as you locate?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's all what your body's prepared to do and how your body's trained. I think that some guys start to throw slower when they get older, but they've refined their body in a certain way to um, command it better or have different movement on pitches. I mean, you look at like Bartolo Colon, right? Like he just moving the ball like crazy until he's 40. And when he was younger, he moved the ball, but it was just more speed and a little bit less command. So um, I don't think there's a one way to do it. I think that each person has to find their own road, and I think that you just need to be able to adapt to where you're at in your journey. For me, I threw pretty hard at the time. Now it's everything's 95 plus, but coming up, I think in college I'd top out at 96. I'd sit like 91, 94, and for a starter, that was hard back then. Um, Now I'm doing the same thing, but I'm doing it different. I'm doing it more efficient. I'm not just relying on athletic ability to whip the ball into the zone, you know. And so I think that is one of the things that can help guys continue to throw harder later in their career with more efficiency, and the effort is just more focused.
So now, I gotta ask you if you're fine with it going a little over. I know it's a little almost midnight here. I gotta ask you a couple more questions if that's fine. Two
Yeah.
to three more if you're fine with that before we
That'd
hang
be
up.
okay.
Okay. So my first one to you is um, the World Baseball Classic. Okay. I know you followed it like I have throughout years past through the first one. Do you like the idea of that? And do you think it should be at a different time instead of during spring training like it's been? Do you think it should go in a different period of the year?
And from a business standpoint, I know the teams don't really want it to, probably, because I feel like spring training, towards the end of spring training, is going to be the closest to where guys are going to be healthy and not being broken down, you know, because you don't want a guy going and traveling and pitching, you know, on the other side of the country mid-season. Maybe they're dealing with some injuries. You're not going to want to do that. So you might lose some guys doing that. Um, I would say probably the end of spring training is still the best spot for it. You're definitely not going to do it in the off season with major leaguers. They're going to take their time off and not want to
Right.
be risking anything.
Right.
So other countries, I think it's different. I think that they're more year round training type stuff, and they're kind of ready for it more year round. Um, so yeah, I like where it's at. I think I would keep it there. I would keep it right at the end of spring training, or even what you could do is just bump back season start, a couple weeks. But because not everybody's doing the World Baseball Classic, um, you're gonna have guys who are just sitting around, not ready to start the season. So
Now I know this might be a little difficult for you since you pitched all over, and I'm sure
mhm.
you would get the invitation if they were asked. Um, would you take any offer, or have you ever been offered for any team in either Olympics or WBC? If you would take it, would you take it?
So I would take it. I would do it. I would love that. I think that I was actually approached about the Olympics. Um, was that 3, 4 years ago? Maybe
Yes, yes,
like that.
that was the last
I
one.
was approached there, and then I was signed up for it to be one of the options. Didn't work out. I was I thought I was going to get approached on the Premier 12 this year. By one of my contacts, and it ended up not working out there either. But if I have either one of those opportunities, I would jump on it for sure. I think that would be fun. I think that it'd be cool to have that opportunity for sure.
Perfect. Before I get into my last question, it's going to be a two-part one.
Mhm.
Eugene wants to know, he just bought your 2010 South Bend team baseball card. I don't know if you ever seen it or not, or if you remember that card or not,
I'm sure I have some stashed around here somewhere.
but he would like to know if you could sign it for him.
Yeah, he could send it out. He'd have to send it to Taiwan to get me to sign at this point, probably. But um, I've actually had people send me that. I don't know if you've heard about it or seen it. The Tops made that mess up card with me and Hagen Danner.
I have not heard. No, I have not seen
You have to
that.
check it out. So
I'll have to
um,
check that out. Yeah.
Tops made a card where it's a picture of me in Mobile, but they photoshopped it to have a Blue Jays jersey and put the name for Hagen Danner on there. And
Oh
I
my.
guess we had this whole Twitter talk back and forth because I guess they sent him this and he said that's not me, and they still printed it and did it. So I've had people send it to me and ask me to sign it.
Oh
I
my.
even had a couple of those cards that I got to sign were signed by him already, and then they had me sign it as well. So
That's
it's
funny.
pretty funny, yeah. So
That's hilarious.
yeah.
Oh my god. How did they get your name confused with his?
I mean Hagen and Hagens maybe, but that's his first name. That's my last name.
Right. It's
And
different.
to pick a Mobile Bay Bears was the Diamondbacks affiliate, not a Blue Jays affiliate. Um, to take that picture and use it, this don't make sense. So
No, it really doesn't. Oh, hey, kudos. Eugene's going to buy that one that you just said too.
yeah, so yeah,
Oh
that
man,
was
that's
kind of
funny.
interesting for sure.
Only
So
tops. Only
yeah,
tops.
yeah. So I had some people send me that one in Taiwan to sign.
I'll definitely. You'll have to. When we're off the air, you'll have to give me that info, and I can hopefully get a hold of him to send that to
Mhm.
you. So,
Yeah, for sure.
um, that wow. So I guess I'll leave you off on this because I know you want to get back to working out, and it's getting late over here too.
Mhm.
Um, so this is a two-part question. It's current related. Um, I want to ask you, the first part of it is, unfortunately, God bless his soul, he unfortunately died this last year. Do you think Pete Rose will get into the Hall of Fame ever? And the other part of the question is, unfortunately, we grew up with the steroid era, which made
Mhm.
the game the way it was. It brought it to new heights, unfortunately, for the wrong ways. Do you see those guys ever getting into Hall as well?
I feel like if you can't, I don't know. It's tricky. I mean, if you look at it, if a guy failed a test, then maybe he won't get in for sure. But if a guy never failed a test, then it's all technically hearsay and never been proven guilty type thing. Maybe they get in. I don't know. I think that's for the voters to decide. That I think that there's some guys out there that might have used them, might not have used them, or whatever the case may be. That their raw talent was there, and whether it was a recovery thing or not, I think that some guys still had the talent to be in the Hall of Fame and still had the careers to be in the Hall of Fame, even if they hadn't had done it. The Pete Rose thing, I think that it's hard to say that a guy who gambled on baseball and now you watch a game and half the commercials are about betting, for them not to change that and let him in. I mean, just look at the way the guy played and how good he was. So, but that's also not my choice. If I had a choice, I'd say sure, let him in. But I feel like it's only because of how much they promote betting now, and that's the only reason he's not in. And I don't think he never threw a game, right? He never bet against himself.
Not to my knowledge, yeah.
And
not to my knowledge, yeah.
I know you're not supposed to, but like if you're betting on you being good, wouldn't that motivate you to be better?
Right. You would think.
You're not. It's not like you're betting on yourself to fail. You're betting on yourself to be the best you can be. So I don't know. It's definitely a gray area to be in, but
yeah, it is for sure. And back to the steroid guys. I mean, that era, like we grew up in. I mean, we knew something was going on, but I mean, it's hard to say if you are going to put them in. Me personally, I think they should, but they need to be in a different wing in the Hall of Fame with an asterisk or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because a lot of those guys, like you see with Bonds and that, they didn't have to do the steroids, and Clemens and all that. They didn't need to take steroids. They were all Hall of Famers before that. I mean, before they got big and all that and juiced up. Yeah. And McGuire and Sosa, they didn't need. I mean, you can agree with that. If you look at their career paths, they didn't need to take steroids.
Yeah, I don't remember. McGuire was the one that I don't really remember when he got as big as he did, and when he would have started taking them. But I mean, the guy was. I know it's a cheat for strength and recovery. You gotta hit the ball, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's one of those things that the purists would say definitely not, and then just the average fan would probably say, I don't care. Guy's still good. I like watching him play. He brought fans into the stadiums and sold tickets and made the game enjoyable. That's what baseball wanted. Baseball wanted to sell tickets and make money, and these guys were causing it to happen.
And I promise this is the last one. I'm kind of curious your take on this real quick. How can you see, or how do you think baseball itself can help the game promote better the best players and these smaller market teams? Because right now it's a struggle with getting these, it's mainly all big market teams and all that, what baseball is promoting, instead of smaller market ones like the Rays, for example. Even though they're in the playoffs, they're still low market. The Twins, even though they're kind of a big market, they're still small to me. They're all how do you think they can make the game better that way and promote these smaller markets compared to bigger markets? How do you think they can expand on that?
That's a tough question. I don't know if I have the knowledge behind all that to answer. I would say that money has a lot to do with it. I'm sure the money that the teams that have the money put into their players, and obviously if you have the brand name players, the guys that everybody knows, like, you're going to get the most notoriety, you're going to get the most coverage. So I think it's just winning. It's teams that can win and do it. I mean, the Rays too, especially look at what they've turned around and done. Before that, they probably didn't have even the fan base that they have now. You know, I think that that's the biggest key for me. Just get your teams to win, and you're gonna get more coverage. You're gonna get more notoriety. You're gonna get all the stuff that comes with it, and then you're gonna get your guys seen, and you're gonna be able to bring more money into your markets, and that's gonna help you expand. I definitely think that owners need to look at it as more than just a business. It's a family outing. It's a career for a guy. It's not just a money maker. So that the money for the teams need to be dumped into it. They need to invest. You see guys who have a lot of money not investing in their teams to make them better and bring them the things that they need as far as stadiums and all that kind of stuff. Make the make the environment they're in fun. Owners need to step up to the plate and put some money back into it. A lot of them are nowadays too. I would say too, that can bring the game to more people.
I couldn't agree with more. That's why I know baseball enjoyed this past World Series. Honestly, I didn't, because I'd rather see the low market teams at least to get know this. But I know baseball had to personally hate the World Series 2 years ago with uh, Texas and Arizona.
Yeah, I
I
love that. I think
I
I
loved
love
it
that.
too. Me
Yeah.
personally, as a baseball fan, I enjoyed it. But I'm
Mhm.
telling you, I think baseball hated it because they know, probably of course, like you said, it's money wise. So they watch the ratings, and I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure they hated the ratings because it's two low market teams.
Yeah. Yeah, I think by that point though, you're still gonna get. I mean, I don't know if the ratings were terrible for that. I think that people do love an underdog too, and I think that year the Diamondbacks were a little bit of an underdog. I don't think people saw them get into the World Series. I mean,
Nobody
they were a
did.
wild card, and
Yeah,
so I
nobody
think
did.
I'd have to look and see what the ratings were, or if you had them, I'd say that the ratings probably weren't as bad as you would think they would be for two low market teams. Um, and I think because, like I said, people do love an underdog story. When people don't expect something to happen, they get surprised and they enjoy it. I think.
And
Obviously, they're
last,
mad.
go
Their
ahead.
team's not there. I think they're mad their team's not there, but everybody else is enjoying it.
And last question is, do you see another championship in your future? I know you said playoffs because your team's getting better, but do you see
Yeah,
another championship?
I do. I think there'll be a championship, whether it's this year or next year or how many years I can keep playing. I'm gonna ride it till the wheels fall off and enjoy this. And um, I thank God every day that I get to do this as a job, and He's blessed me with this career path and providing for my family and the traveling that it's brought me and my family being able to travel. I mean, travel the world. I mean, me and my wife, we have gone so many places together. We've been Dominican, Puerto Rico, uh, Japan, Taiwan. So it's so fun. I'll do as long as I can. And I definitely think there's a championship in there somewhere.
I couldn't say it any better. It's awesome, and I'm glad that you're still playing and having fun with it, even though you had that little small cup of tea. I know, like you said, you wanted it to be longer, but
Yeah.
hey, you're making it, and you're still grinding to this day. It's awesome.
Still blessed for that because you still look at it, the number of guys who get that cup is still pretty
Right.
small. So,
It is. Exactly. Exactly. I do appreciate your time. I'm going to stay in contact with you. I hope you'll stay in contact with me as well. Take me through this little ride with you, because
sure.
I'm kind of curious to see if you do. Hey, I would like to see that too. Another championship in your future.
For sure. Definitely. Let's do
I'll
it.
stay I'll stay in contact. It was fun. I appreciate it. And hopefully Eugene sends me his info. I'll give you his info. That way
Mhm.
he can send you that card to sign,
For
if he
sure.
will. Because he said he wants to put it up on his man cave. So we'll see
Yeah,
what happens from
we'll
there.
get it done for sure.
Perfect. I do appreciate your time. I'll stay in touch. And if you know anybody else, definitely send them my way. I'd appreciate it. I'm always looking for more interviews.
All right.
So
Sounds good, Byron. I appreciate it. Take care.
same with you, and have fun this season.
All right. Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Have a good night. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bradin Hagens, everybody, former major league pitcher with cup of tea. I'm still glad to see him grinding his hardest. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I can't thank him enough for doing this, and I'd love to have him on again in the future. But until then, thank you, Eugene, for tuning in. I appreciate it. Send me your info, please, as I know you're still watching. Send me your info, and I'll send it over to him. He said he will sign that card for you, so you can have it on your man cave. So thank you always for tuning in. I appreciate it. You are my number one fan, especially when it comes to baseball. I appreciate it. You have a good night. Thank you for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. This concludes this episode with Bradin Hagens, former MLB pitcher, current offseas pitcher, now going to Taiwan, staying in Taiwan and pitching. So, yeah, I hope all well goes for him and he keeps his grind going. I appreciate him truly. So, you all have a good night and take care.